My mom told me not to talk to strangers on the internet, but I'm glad I didn't listen. We are the Certified Noonas, your sisters in the love of Asian entertainment.
Hi, I'm Amanda.
I'm Jessie.
I'm Natalia.
And I'm Sky.
And today, we're here to talk about a JDrama.
Love.
We all watch.
Yay!
We're here to talk about love, loss, love again.
Yeah, reconnection.
Yes. There's all sorts of stuff. We're going to talk about the drama First Love, Hatsukoi, which is a Netflix drama based on the music of someone we may or may not have done a whole episode on. That's right. It's
We definitely did.
We 100% did a whole episode. So it's based on, well, not based on, but it's inspired by the songs First Love and Hatsukoi, which are by Utada Hikaru.
And it's set in between the release of both of those songs as well.
Oh, the timeline.
So as our usual, preface to what we're about to talk about, we will have spoilers before we watch the whole thing. So if you haven't watched it yet, you should go watch it on Netflix. It's 9 episodes, so it's not like that much of a watch. And then come back and listen.
It goes by quickly.
If you have watched it, welcome. And if you were never planning on watching it, well, I don't know, maybe you should, but you're free to stay anyway.
You're free.
We won't kick you out.
I guess we'll allow you.
Whatever.
I personally, I thought for some reason I had it in my head it was 10 episodes, and I'm like getting to the end of 9, and I was like, but this is the end.
Gotcha.
What did they? And then what's the end? And I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense. Because I was like,
what could they
what is
possibly
going to
add
happen?
to this? Who wants to tell us this? Who wants to tell us a synopsis?
Tell the tale.
Tell the tale of this story.
The time jumps or skips, or as far as how it's cut between the timelines to flashbacks and stuff. And it might be jarring for some people. It goes back and forth a lot, even within every single episode. So I just wanted to mention that before we even got into it. So it's not like it's this hyper-linear, we first see when they're in high school, and then we see later on. Yeah. It goes back and forth a lot, and when it does that, you don't always know right at the beginning. I was confused a little bit right at the beginning as far as who a third party was. I was very confused about who that person was. I was like, oh, I see who it is now.
And they didn't always, it wasn't like the stuff you saw from the past was necessarily linear either. Like they weren't necessarily telling that. And then there was sort of in between time periods that were getting told and stuff that was still in the past, but was still kind of like now past, but not like now. And
it was kind of like more like significant points or like significant things, events that happened, and kind of like they use it to tie in the rest of the like points of the like storyline too. Like, so it jumped around a little bit.
They do use two different sets of actors, right? Like they use a younger set and an older set, and when you're in those sort of middle time periods, they're using like the older actors but with different haircuts and stuff. So if you're paying attention, it's not too hard once you get into it and you're like, okay, these are the young them, these are the old them, like, but initially it can be a little bit like, okay, where are we now? Who are we? Okay. Yeah. But,
well, like, because I understood at first, like, younger version, current version, and then I was like, who is this person? And I thought it was in the past for a while, and it wasn't. It was in the present, and I was so confused. And then I caught up. I was like, okay, I feel really stupid.
No.
So,
don't feel stupid.
And one thing is, they do, and they also do time jumps even within that. So, like, every once in a while, it'll be like, oh, this is 1998. Oh, this is 2001. And sometimes I get really into the story, and I would forget to like really be looking for if it was going to tell me a year, and sometimes I had to go back and be like, okay, what year are we? Got it.
Yeah, they didn't like they said the years, but a lot of times they were only like when it was a big event. Like they talk about like big historical events, and so then they put those dates on like specifically. So like when the tsunami happens, or like there's a part where they talk about COVID and stuff. Like, so like those definitely have that, and like sometimes it's tied in with like, you know, maybe it's a Utada Kakaru's like song playing, and so like then you kind of like know that, but like some of them are kind of a little bit more vague. I did watch an interview with them, and they jumped around even when they were filming as well. So every like day it was like a different thing for them. Like
wow.
So they didn't even get linear. So it's not like they, you know, did all the like scenes when she's like married with the kid or whatever. Like it was like kind of drastic, but they tried to do a little bit with like coloring, and then also the actress specifically talks about how she tried to make her character when she was in that middle stage like completely different than when she was younger and when she was older, which I think she does a really good job.
I think she did
but like if you're not looking for it, you're still kind of like, oh, okay. But it doesn't take that long to kind of figure out where it's going.
And it's pretty cool to watch sometimes. The sometimes when it's just a quick flashback or something, they sort of did like a didn't even do a cut scene. It would be sort of like, and the car drives by and now we're here, or the train.
That was always really cool when they did that.
Stuff. Yeah, you know, like the train pulls out with the young one, but pulls in, and the older one gets out or whatever, and you're like, oh, that was well done. I like that. Like
the way I sort of like my brain interpreted it, and this may be on purpose or may not be, is sort of like all the stuff that was happening like in the modern day from when the two of them reconnected was linear, but everything else was like flashbacks on that. So like things that happened in the modern day just went forward. And so what my brain was like, oh, these are just like the memories that are relevant to what's happening in the day. Because you don't remember things linearly. Yeah. You remember things depending on what reminds you of them.
Well, yeah, and it also might be that it was trying to tie back, because like one of the big things is that she gets into a car accident, or a car hits her and she loses her memory. And so she has this like kind of sporadic memory. And I think like it might almost be mirroring like when she starts to recall, like it has that kind of like fractured, like big events or like big emotional events kind of like showing, but like also with him as well, like what he was doing at those times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to say that it was super hard to follow, because I do think in the current time it always progressed forward, of course.
Yeah.
But as far as, since you didn't know their entire young history together entirely, and you hadn't seen the middle, so then that was interspersed. It's really not that confusing. I'm just saying, I personally was confused by this random kid in school. And then I was like,
if you are confused, it's okay too. Like, I'm
trying to say, if you get confused, it's fine. You can just reverse and like rewatch it and be like, okay, I know what's going on now.
Yeah. And it does, you get there pretty
quick. Yeah. Like after, you know, like the first episode might be confusing, but by like the third episode, you're familiar with the format at this point. You're
confused me initially was when the amnesia gets like introduced. I was like, but hasn't she been remembering him? Because I thought a lot of the times it appeared where they would cut in some of those childhood scenes appeared like she was remembering them. She was thinking back to that time that she did this or whatever. And I was like, but it wasn't, I mean, obviously that's not what they were doing, but it was just initially I was like, but wait, what do you mean she doesn't know who he is? Or, you know, doesn't remember?
I think that was actually very clever, because you as the audience don't know until well into the drama that she doesn't actually remember him.
Yeah.
Like, because, you know, people look different when they're younger. Maybe you just don't recognize him. But, like, I think that was very cleverly where they don't tell you until you're a ways into the drama.
Yeah, like 4 or 5
almost. Yeah.
So
I guess we should probably
actually like tell the story.
Do the synopsis. So basically, it's your classic boy falls in love with girl, and she then falls in love with him, and they're just having a wonderful teen romance, and they decide we're going to be together forever, and like all that has never once gone wrong for a teen.
Never once. It always works out swimmingly.
So they go to college. So she goes to college studying English. He joins the Air Force, and they meet up on a date and they have a fight. And then she like storms away from him. Rightfully so. I'm on her side.
He storms away.
They both storm. Yeah, he storms away, and then she gets hit by a car, and then she gets amnesia. And then,
but very specific on the amnesia.
She only forgets him, essentially.
Well, she basically she forgets the time period that they
knew
start,
each other,
which is only like a couple of years.
5 years, just the 5 years that led up to her accident. That's all.
So like
tragic.
So basically, high school and like the start of her college.
The most recent of memory. Yeah.
And then cut to 20 years in the future. She's now a divorcee who has a son who lives with his father, and she drives a taxi, and he has left the Air Force and is now a security guard who has befriended her son because her son goes to kind of creep on this TikTok dancer.
He doesn't know it's her son, though.
Yeah, he doesn't know it's her son. He finds that out to his horror later. And he's currently engaged to be married to a lady. And then he sees her in a taxi because she drives a taxi. And then he's like, well, I'm going to throw everything away. This is fate. Fate is coming back to me.
And you could already tell that when I say he was still hung up on her, like not in a weird way, but you could tell that he wasn't 150% into his relationship, even prior to him seeing his first love in the taxi. He really was still thinking.
Yeah, and not in a mean way. It was just that like they were very establishing that like he literally always loved her. There was never a time he didn't love her.
Yeah.
So like it was hard for him to get past, especially because like when you start to find out the story, like he doesn't get closure with her as well. Like so like he's always going to be the love. The first line of the song.
Anyone else would always be in second place, no matter.
I liked that part when she sort of makes like his fiance makes a comment to him like early in their relationship, and he's like, "It's not you. Like I can't say you're number one, but you're a solid number two. Like but I just can't." And she's like, "I like that about you. You're honest." And I'm like, "Oh God, girl, go away."
Girl. Also, I just need to say the way that he meets his current girlfriend is she's his therapist, which big yikes on that hand.
So one thing I did they seemed like a really cute friend couple.
Yeah, they'd be great.
They were such good friends. I was like, just be friends for a while longer.
I know.
That's all you need.
Like kind of one of the bigger things too is because like they did kind of develop that like he did have affection and love for this person. It just wasn't to marry, which I think sets up what happens later on. Like kind of like but like they were good together, so you could like understand like if it wasn't that first love, then okay, I guess like they do like have a good repertoire and they seem like they like each other and like hanging out with each other. And
for all he knew, she was still married to her ex-husband, so he had no chance. So why not move on?
Yeah.
Now I know what you're thinking. You're wondering if you haven't seen this. If you have seen this, you know exactly what I might be about to say. You're thinking, well, he didn't forget her, so why would he possibly have just left her alone? And I want to talk to you. This mother, okay? Okay, so at first you're initially introduced to the main character's mother, who seems like a great mom.
She's very chill.
Yeah.
She seems like a chill, fun mom, okay? Who's like, seemingly cares about her daughter's well-being. And she works at a factory, so they're not very well off, but like the love is there. So you're like, oh, good, finally, a good supportive mom. But suddenly, after she gets into an accident, she suddenly becomes this spiteful woman who like hides all the letters he writes and won't let him see her, and like is like, oh, you were never dating anyone. There's no one you're missing. And then she's like, yes, go marry this doctor whose family is, douchey to you. And I'm just sitting here like, bitch.
Especially because when you see how little it takes to actually trigger her memories coming back, you're like, oh my god, 20 years.
Well, I mean, like, I think that's like one of the downfalls of the show was this specific thing, because they shouldn't have made the mom the way she was when they first introduced her, because everything that she does past that, it totally makes sense. Like, if you took everything that she does past that and all the like things that she like, personality she has, all the issues she has, it makes total sense that she would do what she did to the guy and thing. But like the first brief section was not the mom, like, because they show that she starts to get depressed and alcoholism, and so she has like big mood swings because of that, which like makes sense on what she was. And also you learn that the father, who's not in the picture, is wealthy and like broke up with them and doesn't give them money, and so she wants her daughter to be well off because she does not like being poor. Like, and that's the big thing.
What's like, wild to me about that is like, I don't want you to be like me and be poor, so I don't want you to marry this guy that loves you. You know, go marry this other guy who also, I mean, appeared to love her in the beginning. Like, their relationship seemed reasonably healthy initially.
It was okay. I mean, he was weird from the beginning, though. Like, remember he like put the like calendar like ahead 15 days or something stupid.
That's right.
Like,
but like,
and also like,
it's weird that the mom got screwed by a rich guy and then was like, yeah, the rich guy, he'll take care of you. Did he take care of you? Because like,
meanwhile, I just hate to say it, being a pilot in the Air Force is not a bad job.
And like, they could have like leaned into the fact that like she was like technically in the accident because of him, and just leaned into that being the thing where like, you're not like, you made her this way, so you're never like setting foot near her again. Like that could have been the thing that like,
that would have made sense.
The mom before was so drastically different than the mom after. And I think the mom after was so well done because it did kind of show like someone who's not like super mean, but like has issues, and those issues tend to like led to like these big things, because then she would, you know, like yell at her daughter or something. But then there was like moments when she cared, when like things were good and her depression was good and her substance addiction was good, like she was fine human being. But she never was that mom before. So I'm like, okay.
Like, she was such a cool mom, and then it was just like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
so to clarify, in case people haven't seen it, pretty much when the accident happened and she ended up in the hospital, the mom goes to the boyfriend and is like, I need you to step off, essentially. So there was that, but then later on, whenever she's back home and all these things, sorry, my dog knocked on the door and that totally
threw you off.
Jarred my head. It's when he was able to pass his essentially fighter pilot test, like he got to do this first flight, and so he kind of he got out of being like a cadet and he became a fighter pilot, like proper. And so then that was his thing, and he had written all these letters in the meantime. He hadn't seen her, but he went to her house finally because he had attained this thing. He's all in his dress uniform, and the mom is the only one that answers the door because the main character is not there. But the mom answers the door and is like, here's your letters. You know,
she never even saw them.
She's pregnant. Yeah. She's gonna get married. Bye. And it's like,
it's just so heartless. And it's just like, I know it's like such like a fiction trope where it's like the lovelorn person sends letters and like the vindictive mother like hides them. Like, listen, it happened in like The Notebook, right? That was like a big plot of The Notebook too. And it's just like, maybe let's just not do this anymore.
I mean, I guess it's better than like, you know, the whole like they get separated and they don't even try to.
Yeah, they never try to communicate. Yeah.
I mean, there was an attempt on his part and she didn't know because of the,
it's
trauma.
Just crazy when you realize at the end that probably if she had just started reading these letters, if her mom had shown him his picture and been like, this is the guy writing you letters, as she was reading them, she probably like
would have remembered everything.
I think the mom
sister had come over to visit her or something, because like the
she
first
still
time
knew
she
sign
meets his
language.
sisters,
Yeah.
she realizes she learned sign language at some point. How did I know sign language? And you're like,
I'm
oh
pretty
my
sure the
God.
mom kind of figured that out. Like, it wouldn't take very much. And I think
Yeah.
that was, like, the big thing that we're like, you know, they were so in love that it was like, of course, they weren't going to, like, stay not.
And to reflect what Jesse said earlier about the moms don't match, because the mom was super supportive at the beginning of, like, random boyfriends standing there, like, when they first got together. The mom was there.
Yeah.
It's not that long of a time, too. Yeah. And there was no big event that, like, happened. It wasn't, like, actively, so there was something in the mom's life happening at that point where she was, like, mad about something. Like, the daughter was in college. Like, everything was going well. Like,
yeah. I will say, just in case you haven't watched this and you're listening to us and we're just making it sound like it's super matching, like,
that's actually a very small portion of the show.
It's really, I mean, it's more like a bittersweet, mellow kind of thing, but there are also super funny moments. Like, at the beginning when the teenagers first confess and stuff, and, like, he's out smoking on the rooftop at school and she gets confessed to by this other boy, but, like, she doesn't realize that's what's happening. He's like, what's your favorite food? And she's like, I don't know, cheeseburgers or whatever. Like, I don't know. And then the guy leaves, and then the guy, the main character who's smoking on the roof is like, I mean, obviously, if somebody asks you what your favorite food is, it means they like you. And she's like, really? Okay, well, what's your favorite food? And he's like, I don't know, like, soup or whatever. And she's like, okay, bye.
Okay.
And then it's like sister and best friend are like, you're a moron.
I must say, the sister best friend.
Oh my god!
Kiss.
Oh my god!
I love the sister so much. Oh my gosh.
The proposal and the wedding was just one of my favorite parts of this drama.
At the wedding, and the way they just, like, ran to hug him because it was such a good, like, best man brother speech. You were like, oh my god.
The mohawk he had at the wedding.
She's buzzed off half his hair,
and her awesome dress,
and like
the funky band with, like, the really cool outfits.
Everyone was really cool, and like, oh my gosh, I love it so much.
Another thing that I really loved about this is, like, it really demonstrated, like, just because someone has money doesn't mean they're a better husband, doesn't mean they're a better parent, doesn't mean they're better in any way. Because, so you get this whole plot line involving the main character's son, who she had with her brain surgeon, which is also sketchy, okay? These medical professionals need to get it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious how old she was in that moment too, but at least she was college.
Yeah, she was college,
but it was still sketch.
But it's still sketch in the position that he's in. Yeah.
So he then, like, him and his horrible mother, who's the reason why she leaves him, because this mother is just, we're rich and we're better than you, like, classic, just the classic, right? They convince her that, like, you can't take care of your son because you're poor, even though he's happy, fed,
I'm like,
healthy.
You could give her money?
Yeah, like, you could.
Okay.
So we're gonna raise your son, but then you find out, like, her son is incredibly gifted musically. But the father is like, music is garbage. You cannot study music. You have to become a doctor like me. And then meanwhile, like, when he goes to visit his mom, and he's just like, oh, like, I made this song. It's probably bad, like, whatever. And the mom listens. She's like, this is the greatest song I've ever heard. Have you made more? Like, I'm your number one fan. And she's like, I need a copy of it. And she'll play it in her taxi and be like, my son made this. He's so talented. That's what you should be doing as a parent. What you should do
as a parent, yes.
Like, not being like, you're not only does the father never listen to his music, he just automatically assumes it's bad. Which, like, what are we doing here?
Which, at least you do see some, like, growth there. Like, I think his dad does love him. Like,
yeah, like, his dad's not abusive or
like,
anything.
At the end, you see, like, he's got like a poster of his son up in his
now that his son is successful
at the hospital or whatever, but as bad as he is, like the dad like cheats and stuff, like he's not a good dude, but
he's not a good dude, but they do like do that thing where like one of the things I think like entirely the grandmother is the reason why they wanted the kid there, but like he does do it. There's like a point where he like gets really worried with her because she's not eating and she's like working so hard, and he recognizes it. So there is like kind of this like knowledge that maybe he's trying to also do this so she can become healthy again, because he doesn't like, they might not be together and he might not be a good dude, but he's not like wanting her to die, you know?
Yeah. Well, and even like when she gets the job that's closer to where they live, and she's like, "Can I see him more now?" And he's like, "Of course you can, because you're his mother." Like, he doesn't try to withhold his kid from her or anything like that. Like he's not that divorced dad. So,
but yeah, I just let your kid, like if your kid is talented or interested in something, let them fucking be interested in it. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Just, So we got, it's had a nice parade of bad parents in different ways, which is a nice cautionary tale. Like, don't be this parent. Be cool, poor mom. She's cool and supportive. Like, she doesn't have money, but she clearly is the one who loves her son the most out of anyone.
I was trying to find it. I took a screenshot of, like, it was I got it. It's the last... Like when it's one of the last episodes when they're in the cab and she's driving him to the airport.
Oh yeah.
She talks about it, and I was trying to bring it up to see, because it's of course not in order. So I'm like, what does this screenshot look like? It's like basically that you have the right to believe in yourself, and you should go for what you want in life. Like, you don't need to live up to expectations, even if it's a mistake or even if it fails. It will always serve some purpose in life.
Yeah.
So good.
Like,
and that was kind of the theme of the show, as far as like that everything in your life, even if it's a failure or something bittersweet or sad, or even her accident or something like that, it all becomes a part of your life, and it's all moments that make up your entire life, and that brings you to this present moment, essentially. But yeah, how that thing she said in the cab, like with how supportive she was, and straight up being like, you do not have to like meet the expectations of your parents, and she was including herself in that statement.
While she's like, trying to like help him go do this thing and confess his love and whatever, she was being super supportive mom.
And there was a moment that he looks over at her and is super impressed, and it was so cute. Like, he was like, in his eyes, he's like, "You're so cool that you're able to do this." I was like,
I feel like he's one of the good examples of how this show sort of played with some of the tropes and things where they would introduce a character and you'd think they're like this, but as you got to know them more, you were like, oh, they're not. Like, when you first get introduced to him, you think, oh, sullen teenager, he doesn't like his poor mom, he doesn't, and then, no, it's just that he was like preoccupied with something else, and he, and he feels bad that he didn't answer the phone, and he feels bad that his mom was worried for him. He loves his mom, and he's a good kid, and you're like,
he's just a teenager.
Okay.
He's a teenager that's hyper fixated on something. It's not that he was doing it because he felt ill will to his mom. And like throughout the series, you see that like the son is like very much attached to the mother.
Yeah, because she's a good mom. And
from the very beginning,
she's just a really good mom. Like,
she's a good person too.
She's an incredibly good person.
She really is.
Well, then, like, she doesn't know what to get him for his birthday, so she gets him the Amazon gift card, and then he uses it to buy her a sweater so she can just go on a date with. She doesn't have a man to go on but you should go on a date sometime. Here's a cute sweater.
Them.
And then when they went during COVID, she would like go and park below and
like talk to
on the phone.
and be like, your shirt looks nice on you. It's like, oh my gosh, best mom.
But like,
and then I love
absolutely.
how like she completely independent of him meets the woman that he has a crush on. And like becomes friends with this girl, and then the girl is like, "Oh yeah, your mom's awesome," and he's like, "How the hell do you know my mom?" And
what she's like, "What do you mean my mom's awesome?"
But like, we totally do karaoke together, and you're like,
well, that's also one of the things. So like in the beginning, you see this about her is because when she first like starts dating the guy, and she goes and visits the family, and like you find out that his sister is deaf and like so uses sign language. She purposely learns sign language to talk to the sister, and like she continues it to the point where she would just go off with the sister, and they became really good friends and like just have conversations. It was purely so that she could like be included in conversing with the sister and not just kind of be this like passerby. And it's just like so sweet.
And also like it's important to note that like the sister would be excluded from conversations that were happening because
it was within her family.
Yeah. And I mean like it was like they should have done it, but it was also because there was a lot of rowdy boys too. It was just like very like everybody's doing everything kind of thing. And then she would like kind of zero in on the sister and then like focus on her and like make sure she felt included. And
that was such a cute scene where like everyone's just talking and then no one knows that she can do sign language. And then she just turns to the sister and she starts signing. And then everyone literally like silence, just mouths agape, utensils falling. Like,
well, the thing that kicked it off was like the main character noticed like the sister was asking for the tartar sauce and like kept asking, and everyone was like ignoring the crap out of her, and the dad was holding it the whole freaking time, and so the main character was like gently took it away, gave it to the sister, and the sister was like, "What? Like,
wait a second,
you knew exactly what I was saying," and then she started signing. Everyone was like, "What? You learned sign language?"
She's like, "Well, of course I learned sign language. Like,
just like you're
I
part
love
of
your, I love your brother. So
want to be part of the family." Like, it was so good.
Side note: the color theme with the families. I don't know why that's a thing, but that is definitely a thing in this show.
I only really noticed it at the scene closer to the end when they like went to see if he like passed the test so he could get into the good high school or whatever. And they were all wearing red, and I was like, "Oh,
the director
they've been wearing red the whole time."
Okay, so in that little clip, we'll link it. It's a Netflix thing, and so the writer / she also directed it. She talked about it how because she was trying to make like different time areas like have a different color, and the problem was when you were like outside or whatever, you're doing a lot of things, it would be harder to get. So she used costumes and props to also add to that. So that's part of what she was doing. Yeah.
Because I noticed red for sure. Blue for sure, because the son with his blue outfits and his blue bed and stuff.
That's right.
And then there was a yellow color too, like that would kind of show up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful.
But the red was like,
it's
the family. The family with red was very
everything is very beautiful to watch.
Yeah,
like
it really
a lot of beautiful snowfall scenes
and slow and like, and I mean until sort of you get to like the final episode. I said to somebody, the drama feels like for like 8 episodes you're sort of rolling the ball slowly up the hill, and then like the end of episode 8 you've crested the hill, and then it just rolls itself down the final episode, and you're just a ball of emotion rolling down that hill. Like it all comes together.
I'm gonna be real. If I was her and I got my memories back, I would never talk to my mother again.
True.
But
never again.
You know what? On the one hand, yes, but on the other hand, as we were saying about like that theme of like good coming out of the bad and stuff, she wouldn't have her son, right? And she wouldn't give up having her son. So there's going to be that like I'm super furious with my mom, but also I got my son out of this, and so I can't.
Yeah, but I feel like I still wouldn't talk to my mother though.
I'd be the same way, but I know that she wouldn't be that way.
Yeah, I know. She's a lot nicer than
she's nice.
Yeah, she's a lot more
I will
kind.
say, no matter how cliche it is, it always had to be that the song was the one to make her remember everything. And I thought it was so beautiful that it was with her son as well, like that moment, because he gets that Walkman from the guy because he's going to leave, and then like the son's just like sitting there listening to it, and she's like, "Oh, what are you listening to?" And he hands her the other headphone, and then they play it.
Listen to classics, son.
I kind of got out of that too is that was her CD, right? Because when she was looking at her stuff, her jewel case was empty. Like, so it's literally her CD, and you're like, so many connections that come back.
Well,
and it's so good.
And in that moment, I think the son figured it out.
Yeah,
the son figured it also. Like, I think he figured it out also because they zeroed in on the can of the juice too.
Yeah,
like
he knows
the
what's
grain,
up.
corn, pottage, whatever.
It's like corn stuff.
It's literally
like,
just corn porridge. Like
and
polenta with extra steps.
Can porridge.
But like the son has been hanging out with the male lead, like just chill, like hanging out throughout, and the male lead keeps talking about how he lost his first love, or he good things come out of saying it, but then I didn't fix things, and fixing things is you have to say what you feel in order to move on in life, and I never said what I felt, and so I couldn't move on and stuff. And you kind of get this point that like at that point that the son is like, oh yeah,
wait a second,
I get
no wonder the first time we met you were like asking me more about my mom. I see where this is coming from.
And like you were looking at my mom when we first met that one time in the dark. You met my mom and you were kind of like, no, that's me. Damn it. Like,
suspicious.
She's like, hi, nice to meet you. And he's like, dang it.
I guess we should go over the whole like the main leads meeting again and stuff, because we haven't even.
I love our episodes. These like really quick episodes. You can never.
We do not say this is a recap for a lot of reasons. This would be one of them.
This was just an emotional journey that we took.
We're not
taking with you.
We're sporadic.
So yeah, that is how the main leads meet each other again, is through the son. And then they kind of just machinations with that, as far as she has a taxi customer that ends up going to where he works as security guard, and he's like stealing money, and then she gets in the way and causes an injury, and he has to go to the hospital. Like, I mean, it's this whole thing. And he's not like coming on to her or anything. He doesn't want to tell her anything. He's not trying to be secretive. He's concerned that he's going to re-traumatize her, which is a very legitimate concern.
Yeah.
So that's why it's killing him. It's killing him to be around her, because he's just
he can't help himself.
He can't not be around her. Like,
well, there's this like one point where he's like going through the radio because he can hear all the cab. He can switch to the cab because he has radios for the security gig, and he's going through and he's like trying to find her voice again, and he finds it at one point, and you're like, oh my god.
Like, just
he's down bad. He's still down bad.
Like, on one hand, I'm like, don't date your therapist. But on the other hand, I'm like, girl, run. Like, it's not going to get better than this. Like, oh my god, he was never going to love you. Not the way you needed him to. Get out
of way, as much as the date your therapist thing, I mean, I will put it this way. They didn't date until after the therapy was done. And it was like, okay, therapy is done. He's like, good, now I can ask you out. And she's like, I mean, I guess. Like,
but then it really felt like they were good friends at that point. I'm like, oh, you're such good friends.
I know.
Man, always ruining it. Oh,
well,
very
society.
nice person.
Well, it's also society. Society
Yeah.
tells you, like, you have a connection with someone of the opposite gender. Like, therefore, you will date. It's like,
Yeah.
the reality is, they seem like best buddies, and it was lovely. Like, he needed that, too. He needed a friend.
It was
And so,
very, like, but it's like 12 years.
yeah, it's a long time.
You're grown-ass adults, and 12 years? He ain't.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have
Like,
lasted.
I'm
I'd be like, you know,
I'd have been like, you know, and when he doesn't
you're
show
cute.
like, when
You're very good looking, but
and when when like every time they have like a date set for him to meet her parents and he just fucking doesn't show up, girl, read the room.
And then she just starts doing all the wedding planning, and she's just like deep into it. I'm like, no.
Yeah, she's like, I know that he's done it.
No.
Yeah. You're like,
Well,
come on, girl.
What I did appreciate about the show is they make her out to be a fairly sensible person. Like, I mean, we're saying she didn't see the signs and stuff, but like, she seemed like a very nice, normal woman. Like, she was
did
not.
see the
And
signs.
she
It was
did,
just she
yeah.
did like she was in love with him, so she
Yeah.
didn't want
She
to
looked-
lose him.
She put blinders on and ignored the
Right.
signs.
Up until the point where he re-meets his first love, he does seem to have come to the conclusion within himself that, okay, I have to shut the door on that chapter of my life,
Mhm.
and I'm moving forward with this person. So she knew she wasn't number one in his heart, but she was pretty sure that he was okay to settle with number two, and she was okay. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it
And then
wasn't
that
until
started to
number one
change.
showed back up that then it became a problem, right?
Yeah.
Right.
See,
And he kept trying to talk about it too.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
she just wouldn't have
They
the conversation.
they made it a point to like let you know that he was actually feeling really terrible about it too,
Mhm.
which is like how they tie in the like everybody's favorite trope where the person leaves for a while, but like he does it because he legitimately feels terrible that he's ruined this other girl, and then he's now got the other girl who still doesn't remember him. So
Yeah.
he's like, I can't, like, I need to just leave. Like, I need to just be on my own for a while.
Yeah.
Like,
Meanwhile, you've got her being like, he might be a red flag, but I'm colorblind. Let's go. Like, oh,
she's
no,
like
no,
starting
no.
I
to
have
feel
to
things.
respect in that sense too. He doesn't dump her for the other person. He dumps her because he knows that that's not fair to her.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
finally
Yeah.
reached that
He
point where he's like,
legitimately feels
I
bad
can't
about
do
it.
this to you
Yeah.
anymore. It's not fair. I can't be with this other person either right now, but I just have to go be with neither of you because
Mhm.
obviously I'm ruining your life, and that's not fair because you're a really great person. Like, and she was really good about it too. She was like, okay, I'm going to be okay. If you have to leave, you have to leave. And then she like breaks down when he's gone, but she's like,
Yeah.
no, I'm going to
But
hold
then
it
her
together.
bird cheers her up, and that's the
know.
important thing.
Yeah.
Listen,
bird.
your bird will never do you dirty like he did. Don't worry, girl.
That's right.
Your bird, your bird don't have a first love. It ain't leaving you for anyone.
Oh my gosh. And then when the first love is on the plane going to see him, you find out that she's like remembered about the memory box that they made together, and she ends up opening it, and you find out that there was a letter that you knew that was like from him in there, but like you find out as she's like reading on the plane that he's since gone back to that spot, redug it up, and rewrote more to it, being like, I hope you're doing well, and like I always want you to like be good, and like just all this stuff, and you're like,
And I hope
there.
someday I can hear your side of the story. It was like, oh my gosh.
She's like,
And when
crying on the
dude-
plane. I'm
When
like,
she starts reading the first letter that they originally, buried, and you realize that, and he's like, I want to tell you about the moment I fell in love with you. You aren't even going to remember it because, and you're like, find out that like, it's not when you think it is. It's like,
Yeah.
it's so
And you're
good.
just like,
And
why are you
Yeah.
doing this to me? My heart can't take this anymore.
And then you figure out for her too, because she had noticed him even back then as well.
yeah.
Exactly.
But that's what's like so like pretty about it too. It's because in the very beginning, like it did focus more on like her side of like falling in love with him and finding him cute and stuff. And then like you get to the end and you find out that like he only had eyes for her for the like
his entire
from the
life.
second he saw her, and you saw it like it was like she was his greatest love, like, and it's usually not like you don't focus on that like usually with these types of stories, you know, it's usually the female's perspective.
I mean, that moment, like,
I love a good
book
sim.
lovers, when I tell you, she falls asleep on the train reading her book, and her book's about to fall out of her hand, and he is like, oh my God, she's gonna lose her place. And he runs across the train and sticks his ticket stub in so that when the book falls, she doesn't lose her place. Like, that is true love, my
Prince
friend.
Charming.
He was like, and then like he was not a bad person. He wasn't getting in trouble, but you find out he was getting in trouble because people were like making fun of his sister, and so the like the parents were like, I'm not gonna tell him no.
Like, what? Maybe you should deal with the bullying before you come after my son.
Like, he wasn't doing anything in school, and like he figured out like where she was going, and so he made it a point to like heavily study so that he could be in the same school as her, so that he could see her. It's so sweet.
And then the entire family would like bring him snacks and like
sure
make sure he was
like
getting enough
into
sleep
it.
and all these things. Yeah, it's so cute.
The grandpa, when he starts, like, he's practically asleep at the table, and he starts like eating something, but it's not even unwrapped, and the grandpa like pulls it out of his sleeping
like
hands and
seaweed.
unwraps it and sticks it back in his mouth. Like, it was so good. It was like so cute. And I really like that scene where the parents are like apologizing. We're sorry our son got in this fight. Oh my gosh, we're so sorry. And then they're like, well, what happened was this, and the dad just sort of sits back
and he's like,
oh,
I fucking take back my previous apologies.
No,
you should be apologizing to me. Yeah,
right. No, that's how we raised him. We raised him.
No, this is it.
People's nuts when they, yeah. We're okay.
So, I will admit there's a trope in here in the show that like I didn't know was there, and it really surprised me, but it's a trope that no matter when it shows up, I'm always like, I like this. Iceland! If you stick Iceland in something, I'm like all there. So I was already all there in the show, but it's like, oh, we're going to Iceland now. It's like, there we go. Okay. Because it's always just beautiful. Like it's like
gorgeous.
here's an excuse for gorgeous landscape scenes. It's like, thank you.
And it's like a
Iceland. Here we
clean
go.
slate. It's like pure white, yeah.
Oh God. And then when she's like hitchhiking her way to him, and it's like she stops at this place, and the guy's like, oh yeah, we just had a Japanese guy here like last week, and he works at that, and she's like, say no more, and she starts running down the highway.
Okay, thanks, old man, I'll take it from here. Yeah.
It's so cute.
That's enough out of you, old man, I'm out.
But what I really liked about her character and the development of her character, it wasn't simply trying to reconnect with her lost first love. It was also reconnecting with her own desires and dreams and believing in herself and remembering, I wanted to travel.
Yeah.
Can I even do that as a divorced mom who works my tail off as a taxi driver?
Yeah.
Is that even realistic for me? Sure as heck is. She asked for 40 freaking days off. And then her little taxi driver buddies backed her up. And it was the sweetest thing.
It was so good.
Yes. Unionized bitches.
Yes.
When the guy comes in and he's like, I don't know. I feel like there's a law or something. Joe, is there a law about that? And Joe's like, yes, actually, and like rhymes off the whole thing. And he's like, so you actually have to give her all of her paid time off and like not penalize her for that? And he's like, boss is like, damn it, fine.
They were like, she's the best driver here. Like, look at her stats.
The real message of First Love Hastakoi is unionize, friends, stand up for your coworkers, fight the system, don't let wage theft happen.
Also, I loved the little taxi driver people, but specifically the one that they kind of started on that had a crush on her and all these things, but he was always very respectful, gave her space. And they had a nice friendship connection, and even after she kept saying no, he didn't make her feel bad about it or anything. And then he had like great life advice for her and was just trying to encourage her to follow her heart. It was so
the
great.
Sweet when he like confesses to her and he like she like, you know, tells him she can't, and then he's like, it doesn't matter because like if I ever find like my true love and like I find them I will know that it is because of you and liking you. And it's like very sweet and kind. Yeah. And then he was like, join the revolution of giving her 40 days off.
Yes.
Yeah.
I loved him.
It was weird. I also liked the scene where she's sitting with the with her son's crush and talking about how she had these dreams and she wanted to travel and she wanted to do all this stuff, and the girl's like, it's not that hard, like just do it, just go, which it does show that sort of difference in perspective. Like when you're 20, things don't seem hard that way. You're like, yeah, sure, because you don't have things, you don't have stuff that ties you down, and as you get older you have more and more rules for yourself and more stuff that ties you to where you are. And she's like, but can I? And then that she's like, yeah, you can still find your dreams, you can still do those things. And then that she, like, this girl goes off touring the world and happens to find out where dude is and comes home and like they're like, she's like, hey bro, look where your mom's boyfriend is. You should let her know. And it's
helpful. So helpful. You know what? Thanks, girl. You're doing a service. Yeah. She was fun, that dancer lady.
She was fun. And he was also like really sweet to her too. Remember, he was like always like getting her to come when he was there, so because he knew
she
that
wouldn't get
like,
chased off.
Yeah, she wouldn't get chased off and she'd be safe there. And like, so yeah, it was all around great. Like, they were faded together, but it's like whatever. They were very cute.
Yeah, the way they used the fate theme, and that's some people don't like fate as a theme, and that's fine. So if you hate it, it's gonna be a thing in this show. They will talk about fate. But what was also kind of nice about it, it wasn't simply like, oh, everyone believes in fate. You could tell the main lead girl character, you could tell she kind of did in the beginning, and then she kind of didn't. And it was all because it all centered around who she ended up marrying for a bit and stuff. Like, he didn't believe in fate. And so she kind of changed her mind during that time period. Like, fate's not a thing. So you had different takes on fate. And so even the little taxi driver guy, he brought up fate. And so it was like, it was cute. I thought it was a cute use of the fate theme.
It was.
And I think when fate is the theme, like, this is about fate. Like, that's the whole romance, the whole story, everything is about fate and making your own fate, but also finding, you know, like, that's fine, right? It wasn't like they had this like big adult romance and then gave you this throwaway moment about how they met when they were 2.
Yeah, no, they literally met when they were
that's the
teens.
whole point, is that they met as teenagers and like were fated to be together from that moment.
Well, and I even liked the flashbacks that, like, it showed the lead dude, like, re-finding her a couple different times just for some split seconds and then trying to go after her and couldn't do it. And so, like, that's how the fate thing would always come up. It's like life kept bringing them back together and giving them opportunities, essentially, despite the fact that, like, they were at whatever point in their life in that moment. And also, the way the female lead character, I like how they showed how hard she had life, but they never made her into like, oh, she feels super plucky, or oh, she feels like super down about it. Like, she felt like a really well-rounded character within her difficulties, and it felt very realistic to me that it was still super hard for her. She would cry sometimes. It was difficult being a single parent, all this stuff, but they didn't make her into a cliche one way or another, and I really appreciated that aspect of her character.
It really felt like the whole drama, every time you felt like they were setting something up and you were like, here we go, it would take a turn. And it would like, no. And like, you'd think this is the moment where she's going to lose it, or she's going to fall apart, or she's going to be mean to her son or something. And then she would smile all of a sudden huge and be like, I'm so happy that this happened for you or whatever. And you're just like, right, because that's how normal parents would behave. Like, yes, you can be, as a parent, you can be super, super frustrated, super angry with your kid, you know, like you didn't know where they were or whatever, like you're super upset and you're super mad. But as soon as you know where they are and you realize that it's not that they're just being little jerks, it's just life, right? And then you're like, okay, cool. How did practice go, or how did whatever, you know? And you, because that's how you as a person do things, right?
Yeah.
So it was very realistic, I thought, the way they dealt with all the parent stuff.
Yeah.
How would everybody rate it? Or like, who would you recommend it to? All that type of stuff.
All right. Well, I know everyone, longtime listeners, are really excited to find out, does Natalia think her mom would like this drama? Yeah, I think Mama Jo would really enjoy this.
I think Mama Jo would like this.
I think Mama Jo would enjoy this.
I think most non-Asian drama watchers would like this drama.
I agree. I think most people.
Like, if you're looking for like a drama to share with family, I think this one's a really good one.
Doing little warning though, there are some boobs. The second week in a row of dramas where I was surprised by boobs when I wasn't expecting to see boobs. But
yeah, JDrama's got boobs sometimes.
But it's not an excessive amount of boob, just like The Glory didn't have, it had a boob. It had two boobs, but one person. One shot of boobs.
One instance of boobs.
It's the same here, one instance of boobs. Okay.
But I will say the one instance of boobs in this one, it is a sex scene. So I mean, like, just that. So if you're watching with family, be hyper aware of that.
Yeah.
Luckily,
Mama Jo is very sex positive, so a sex scene would not.
So Mama Jo still would be okay.
But it also doesn't come out of nowhere. Like,
no.
There is.
But again, non-Asian watchers would be fine. Like, you know,
sees girl in bar. Obviously makes eyes at each other. What is the next step? That there is the sex scene, friends. Yeah. So like that is the main. Yeah. It's not a big deal.
I thought it was very good. Yeah.
I sobbed my eyeballs out in the last episode, like basically from the end of episode 8 until like the end of episode 9. I was like, okay, now I'm just sniffling. Oh no, now I'm ugly crying again. Like so that's a 10 for me. Like basically, if it brings that much emotion out of me, it's a 10. So that's.
I gave it an 8.5 because I really liked it, but I didn't really like him. So we'll just, it's my personal views, okay? It's my personal views.
What about him? What about him? Why not?
Like him as a character or the actor?
No, I like the actor. Like, okay, I like young him, but I just thought he did. Like, listen, I know, like we talked it through, but I still feel really bad for his fiance.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
definitely. So God, you let this go on too long, my guy. But yeah, and also I don't like watching people struggle excessively, and there was a lot of struggle.
I probably, if I go back and look at my rating later in the year, further removed from my, very visceral final episode feelings, I probably am more closer to where you're at, because I did find at times in the first 4 or 5 episodes, I found sometimes it was moving too slowly for me. So yeah, like, is it perfect?
But 8.5 for me is a really good rating. Yeah. I just need to put this out there. That is like a good drama in my books.
I gave it a 9 out of 10. But I also love slow. I love angst. I do not care about like torture or like torture in any respect, both in horror and in just like general like playing with your emotions. I liked it. It was a good binge too. Like, I didn't want to put down the episodes. I think it stayed true to like the kind of central core of the songs as well, in a way that wasn't too like crazy or anything like that. And like one of the things that I personally really loved about it that we didn't really talk about it is like this when they were in their young, like, time, that was literally my high school. Like, everything that they're doing in the high school, like, Jessie was doing that. Like, Jessie was, like, listening to the Utada Kaoru's CD at that time, and, like, being so obsessed with Titanic. And, like, so there's, like, lots of very, like specific nostalgia that was happening in those scenes that just kind of made it just like an added little like bonus level for me. I just thought it was really great. And I love the like cab group, because I love office dramas, especially JDrama office dramas. So that was like perfect for me. And like, I just like, I found the son really great. And like, I found like everybody like pretty great and interesting, even the like people that I hated. So it was like a solid drama for me.
Agreed.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really do ratings, so I'll say 10 out of 10, because that's quite often just the way I function. Yeah.
If you like it, that's it.
There's gonna maybe be a point that I rededicate my life and try to make an actual rating system, but at this point, if I really liked a drama, it gets a 10. That's the way it works.
Ratings are subjective. Just they need, and also they don't mean anything.
A lot of work.
They don't
think
mean
about
it's
like
a lot
all
of
the
work.
Like,
It's mostly like I really liked this drama. 10. Like that's
and then
pretty
if you like
simple.
try to like match to it like halfway through, you're like, I don't like my rating system at all. You're like, oh,
I'm gonna be honest. If mine's between like 8 and 9.5, sometimes I'll just let like my drama list pick what I'm doing, because sometimes you like when you pull the little slider and you think you're doing like 4.5 stars, it'll be like 4.25, and you're like, yeah, close enough.
Exactly.
It's fine. It's all meaningless. It's just for fun. We're not.
I mean, basically, if you go to my MDL and you see a 7 or higher, that means, hey, watch this. It was fine. It was good. I got enjoyment out of this. Anything lower than that,
like basically if it's like under 6, I've dropped it. So if that like gives you any how like crazy my ratings are, like it was actually have the 4.
It was actually really funny, because my husband was actually asking me like, oh, like what I had rated this drama, and then he was like what's the lowest you ever rate dramas? And I'm like, honey, I got ones. Ones that I've completed,
but like not a lot.
There aren't that many of them, but they exist.
So some things that I particularly liked about the show, though, were like, I did like how it tied into actual historical event type things that, you know, I don't necessarily know about the tsunami that occurred or things like that. But the way they I like when dramas do that, because it makes me feel more connected to probably what the characters were emotionally experiencing in that moment. Like, and I think it's neat how it ties to reality. So I like that type of thing. Iceland. So that's always like a bonus tick for that. What else? But I really liked the colors. And when I say it's beautiful, it's not just like landscape shots. Because quite often when you say that about a show, it's like, oh, it shows pretty snow or whatever. It does have that, but it doesn't have that as much as you would think. A lot of it's just the cinematography and like the way they used kind of clever camera angles, but it wasn't ever distracting from what was going on. It wasn't like, whoa, that was weird or whatever. Or even like the themed color, the red family. It's totally fine. Like it was cute. It was great. So, I thought it was very soothing. So like, I'm actually pretty sensitive to when lead characters are going through a rough time for like episodes and episodes and episodes. Like it's very difficult for me to watch those types of dramas. Usually I end up dropping them, even if I don't want to. But this one, though she was suffering, I think because she was not at her wit's end ever. They never made that character just because she had a support system of various sorts, even if it was her coworkers. Like it never felt like she was utterly alone, really. So I think that helped with. I never felt like she was in danger, I suppose. Yeah. Whereas in some shows, there's some danger involved with that. So, despite the fact that she was having a really rough go, it still felt pretty soothing to me overall, which I enjoyed. Like, I thought it was a very easy watch, despite she was a super hard worker and stuff.
Yeah.
But and so even though she wasn't, oh, I'm super plucky, she still got through it.
She did the best with whatever she was given. Like, every single hand she got dealt, she played it to its fullest. And she just said, okay, well, then this is the hand I've got, so I'm going to do it. And I'm going to go. And, like, being a taxi driver was not her dream, but she was like, but I'm a taxi driver, so I'm going to be the best taxi driver. I'm just going to be good at it and enjoy it and laugh about the people in my backseat making out or whatever, right? And just be like, okay, well, I meet people every day. This is another day, and I'm meeting people. Like,
oh, you saying the best taxi driver thing, that reminded me of, like, so when she was driving the male lead, like, to his, like, rehab appointment, like, she was trying to pay him back for, like, saving her, you know, and he needed something, like, and then he realized, like, oh, you have everything. Do you have, like, magnets and a flashlight? And of course it harkened back to, like, stuff that she had done prior, because she's just the hyper prepared, like, I identify with that. The ladies can attest. I felt that deep in my soul.
it's so good.
I was like, oh, she's one of my people. That's nice.
Wouldn't be me. Wouldn't be me. No.
But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I would really recommend it to pretty much anybody. I know that not everyone's like, oh, I need to watch a romance show, but to me, it is a good romance show.
That's a good one.
It's a great romance. Like, it's good.
So, to me, even though it is a 9-episoder, because of the tie-in with the historical events, it felt a little epic to me, but not overdrawn. And because it spans such a long time, you know, those times in their lives and the way they used the past and things, it felt a little more epic, but not in a generations type thing, except for the fact that, like, you kind of do deal with her son's love line and hers, essentially. So epic on a small scale, I suppose, is the way I felt about it.
You don't really see her parents' romance, but you see the after effects of it. You see the sort of generational, you know, like, kind of trauma that comes from what her mom went through and stuff. So I would agree with that assessment for sure. Like,
and to reflect back to what we said earlier, it's never mahjong-y or whatever the Japanese equivalent of that is. Apology for the terminology, but as far as even the awful mother-in-law situation with the ex-husband, it never was like long drawn out yelling matches or anything insane. It was just obviously very bad. Like, it was just not a good time.
It was more like realistic mellow. Like
it was good. It was a solid, enjoyable drama. And we think
it does watch it. And we'll say again, check out our other episode about the artist that made all, you know, the music that inspired this. We did a whole episode for Jesse's birthday.
Yes, we did.
That was something we didn't mention, but, like, there is a lot of music in it that's not by Utada, but, like, it's really good music. Like, there's some really good, like, very solid music choices being made throughout the whole drama. You're like, yes, this is exactly the right song for this moment in time.
Did you also see, like, how perfect it was that, like, it's all, like, centered around, like, basically March 11th, which is very close to my birthday. It would kind of just, like, all fit.
It was
all fit for that.
All for you.
This is kind of the secondary Jessie birthday episode. It's just that we all had to make time to watch 9 episodes of it.
Lucky. Getting 2 birthday episodes. What's going on here? Someone's a favorite.
But yeah, check it out if you haven't, now that but really, romance, can you spoil a first? It's called First Love. Like, I don't know what to tell you about that.
I mean, I did have a moment about 2 episodes in where I sort of went to Twitter and it was like, okay, I don't need to be, like, totally spoiled, but I need to know, am I going to cry happy tears, or, like, is it going to be ugly? Like, is it going to get, you know, because it's a J-drama, and it had that vibe where you're like, I don't know, this could be in the end, she remembers him and still doesn't.
He's no longer here.
You know? Like, like, it could just be a fate never connects story, and, like, that will be very tragic, and I will be very upset. So I did, knowing that it was a happy ending, made it an easier watch for me in a sense. I didn't stress out so much. So.
Well, I think that's about it for that. So, as usual, go check out First Love on Netflix. And, if you want to keep listening to us, you can check out us. We got 4 years of content that's available on most streaming services, as well as our YouTube channel. Every episode, I believe, or as many as we have since putting YouTube from our pod, whatever. There's tons there. More than you can possibly listen to. And we also do live streams. Pretty near every week on the old YouTube channels. You should go like and subscribe as we do. Just search Certified Noonas on YouTube. You'll find us. And of course, if you want links and time codes, everything we're talking about, you can go to our website, certifiednoonas.com, which is our home on the web. And if you want to support this podcast, you can patreon.com/certifiednoonas to join the Certified Found Family, our found family on the web. We love them. They're the best. And of course, you should also go join our Discord. Twitter, quickly dying, but Discord's still going strong. So there will be a link to that on the blog post that's linked below. Anyway, we hope you have a fantastic week. And as always, wash your hands, wear a mask, check out First Love on Netflix, listen to some Utada, and keep enjoying Asian entertainment. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Ian,